What a year. So 2020 was pretty rough, but then 2021 was like, watch this. We've had escalating climate disasters, insurrectionists at the US Capitol, new variants of COVID, continuing and pervasive political division, but at least there weren't any major outages of vital services like electricity, water, or Facebook. But it wasn't all bad. A lot of good things also happened in 2021, and I did about 45 minutes of research so I could share a few of them with you. Adele released a new album, William Shatner went to outer space, and there was a Facebook outage that lasted almost 6 hours. In all seriousness though, some of the highlights for me were Kamala Harris, the first female and black vice president, took office. There was a massive global mobilization of life-saving COVID vaccines, and despite a lot of the bad news you hear, there were numerous advancements in the categories of medicine, technology, equality, workers' rights, poverty, and more that suggest the world is moving toward a better future for everyone. Plus, Adele released a new album, and it's really good. On a personal level, my year was pretty similar, with some highs mixed with lows, and an overall feeling that I and my family are moving toward a better future. I'll share those highs and lows with you now. I'm going to go back and forth between the lows and the highs, starting with the lows so we can end on a high. Good? Okay. Low. The Texas Snowpocalypse. This was a harrowing event for many reasons. Tons of people lost power and couldn't heat their homes. Many people lost water. Folks had difficulty navigating frozen and snow-covered roads to get the things they needed, and even those who could make it out dealt with supply shortages. For me though, the worst of it was this feeling of helplessness that came over me. I think of myself as the person in my family who can always come up with a solution or a plan. The freeze really made me face how helpless I was without the safety net of all of the technology and infrastructure that we as a society depend on. It was a horrible feeling. Fortunately, we have wonderful neighbors and friends in the area, and we were able to share resources and carry one another through. Hi, releasing my first online course. I'd spent years second-guessing myself about making an online course. This year, after meeting with a handful of good friends and getting some encouragement and clarity, I finally produced my first online course. It's a mini course teaching how to improve your video quality and how to turn long-form video content like a Zoom call or a podcast into shorter videos you can share on YouTube or other social platforms. I didn't do a great job of marketing and launching the course, and so I didn't make a lot of sales, but for me, this was a really important first step towards seeing myself as someone who could actually make an income by sharing my knowledge and experience. Low. Flooding and construction. The night before my family and I were supposed to leave for a big trip, a clogged toilet flooded our second floor and dripped down through the subfloor into some of the rooms on our first floor. I was woken up by my oldest at midnight and spent the next 3 hours before we were supposed to leave for the airport working desperately to clean up the water and minimize the damage. Fortunately, one of our neighbors offered to watch the house for us and work with the construction crews so we could still go on our trip. The repairs took several months, and we had a really bad experience with the construction companies we worked with. It was honestly one of the most stressful periods of my life, but it's done now, it's over, and in a lot of ways it feels like we have a new home. In fact, the nicest room in our house is the boys' bathroom where the flood originated. Hi, Disney trip. So the big trip I mentioned was a trip to Disney World. My wife and I are huge Disney World fanatics, and we were fortunate enough to get to spend a week at one of the resorts with some of our kids, jumping around from park to park and really having a blast. Things were a little different with the COVID protocols and the cloud of rising cases from the Delta variant, but all in all, it was still a wonderful trip. Low. 3 members of my family got COVID. After the trip, we returned to our house just gutted and the new school year looming, and it was kind of like reality was just smacking us in the face. And then Rachel and 2 of our boys who couldn't get vaccinated yet contracted COVID. Rachel caught it first and quarantined immediately, which made things in our already out of sorts home even more chaotic. Our youngest was really upset because he couldn't give mama hugs and kisses. So when we found out that he also had it, he was actually really excited to get to spend some one-on-one time with mama. We were really fortunate that the cases were relatively mild, especially for the kids, and we haven't had any major illness since. Hi. I started writing songs again. I think in response to the difficulty and stress of the year, I felt a pull toward my first creative passion, which is songwriting. It's one of the best ways I know to express what I'm feeling and experiencing. Over about a 6-week period, I wrote and recorded 4 songs, which doesn't feel like a lot, but writing them and sharing them brought me so much joy. I've linked to the songs in the description below and plan to eventually release them along with more that I'm currently working on various streaming services in the near future. Chapter. Low, Rachel injured. In October, for reasons we still haven't been able to figure out, my wife Rachel suddenly started experiencing severe back and hip pain. She immediately had to stop certain activities and exercises, including running, which is one of the main things she does to maintain her mental and emotional health. This was a low for me in a couple of ways. One, it limited some of the ways Rachel was able to help out with our regular household tasks, which left a bit more of a burden on me and the boys. But two, and most significantly, it was just so hard to see her suffering with the physical pain and the emotional distress of losing the ability to run. Doctors were having a hard time figuring out what was wrong, and there was some uncertainty early on about when or if she would regain her mobility. Fortunately, after about 6 weeks, she was able to get out and start running again, and she's currently working back up to her previous fitness. Hi, crossing the 20,000 subscriber mark on the Podia YouTube channel. As a creator, it can be hard sometimes to not feel like an imposter. I work full-time for Podia as a video content marketer. I produced hundreds of videos, helped thousands of people with my content, and I still feel that twinge of doubt and insecurity every time I turn on the camera. Reaching 20,000 subscribers on the Podia YouTube channel because of my efforts, for the most part, it just feels like a huge affirmation. It also got me to think about all the work that I put in leading up to that milestone. I've written, filmed, edited, and published more content both for Podia and on my own channel in the past couple of years than ever before. I'm committed to showing up and improving and creating the best I can, and those are the things that will get me to the next milestone and beyond. Well, that's gonna do it for me. I'm ready to put this year to bed and stroll cautiously but hopefully into 2022. I want to hear from you. Comment below and let me know about your highs and lows this year, and what are some things you're looking forward to in 2022. And if you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button. I've got tons of great stuff to share with you in the coming year. Thanks for watching, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next video.